Hey gang, I've been wanting to do a video on the 65 Impala for quite some time. It belongs to an old friend of mine. He's owned it for many years. I know at least 50 years that he has owned this car and driven it. He is from, well, he's originally from Czechoslovakia, I believe, but he immigrated to California sometime in the mid-60s, and he ended up buying this 65 Impala. He's had it ever since. Now, to give you some facts and figures, in 1965 they had 4 different versions of the Chevrolet Impala. They had the Biscayne, which is the base model, the Bel Air, the Impala, and then the Impala SS. Later they produced the Caprice, which was an updated version or an upgraded version of the Impala. Before that time, the Impala was the top of the line. So that was, basically the first 65. Now, of course, if you go back into the history of the Impala, you can look at the different body designs, 58, 59, 60, and then 61, I believe, was the first year with the bubble top. Then 62, 3, and 4 were very similar in those designs. So 65 was quite a bit of a difference. Engine options in 1965 were the 6-cylinder, 250 cubic inch with 150 horsepower, the Super Turbo Fire 283 V8 with 195 horsepower. Then they had an upscale version of that, basically a 327, which could have 250 or 300 horsepower, according to the information provided. You had a Turbojet V8, which was a 396, rated at 325 or 425 horsepower, and then a Turbo Fire V8 409, which is rated 340 or 400 horsepower. Production of the 396 began on February 15, 1965. Production of the 409 ceased mid-year 1965. Some trivial knowledge for you. Now, these cars were totally redesigned in 1965. They did away with the X-frame, which was first introduced in 1958, so now they have a full perimeter frame. Now, the badging on this car, it says it's a 283, so I'm going to assume it is a 283. If you'll notice, it has the oil vent on the front of the manifold, or the front of the intake, and that's specific to this generation of cars. It is a simple power glide transmission, again 283 engine, nothing fancy at all, but one of the easiest cars overall to work on, in my opinion. It has a single bowl master cylinder, which I can show you that in the back there, hopefully. Single bowl master cylinder, so it is going to have drum brakes all the way around. I don't even know if it has, let me look real quick. No, in fact, it does not have power steering. I thought it might, but it does not. So as far as Impalas go, this one is very basic. I think this is one of the coolest things. It still has the glass bottle for the windshield washer fluid, and so that's just amazing to even see that still in existence. Now, as you can see, it does not have the original fender on the driver's side. It appears there was some sort of impact here at the front, and the fender has been replaced with that from a Super Sport. So even though it has a 283 badging, it has a Super Sport back there on the side of the fender, which I think is kind of neat. It looks like he was trying to prep it at some point in its life to get color back on it to match, and just never happened. He's asked me several times about painting this car, and I've put him off because I really don't want to paint this car, honestly. It's just so neat the way it is, and it's going to take a lot of work to straighten out all the dents and dings that are in it, and I'll show you those in just a minute. Now, over the years, I've done work on this car for him. I've resealed the transmission. I've worked on, I think I put a water pump on it. I know I've just done a variety of different things, and just basic stuff to keep it running and keep it moving. I may have done brakes on it at some point, but I don't remember. I will say he's used this car quite a bit over its life. He's told me before about how he used to take the whole soccer team to the games out in California. He could pile everybody in this thing, and we all know these cars are big and have a lot of space in them. Currently, he uses it like a truck. He's told me before he'll put in potting soil or topsoil or any kind of landscape bags and stuff like that in the trunk because there's just so much room in it. And I can tell you, all this stuff is original. You can look at these lights, you know, they're all cracked, just like you would expect for a car that's this age. You know, I'm surprised, really it's as straight as it is when it comes down to it. There is wrinkles on this side, on this quarter. Now, I'm having trouble with seeing the lens here, so I can only assume that I'm getting the angle good enough to show that. There's some damage here on the wheelhouse or wheel opening. And then it looks like he may have had the door open and backed up and caught it on something. I do know it's leaking water around the windshield. It should be probably replaced or resealed. And he has done his own job of sealing up the back glass. Now, he's not looking for a show car. I mean, this is a car he's had in his family forever, and he just keeps on driving it. I mean, it's just really cool to see all this original stuff on it, even with tape holding things together, and you know, some old seat cover. It's just cool. And I know that everywhere he goes, he's told me people try to buy this car from him all the time. And you know, it's a popular car, even in the condition, or even being a four-door. It's a popular car, and it's like riding on a cloud, big puffy cloud, you know. So I know the odometer is showing 90,000. I'm pretty sure that's 190,000, based on, you know, wear and tear. Like, there is no brake pad anymore; it's all gone, and you can see how much it's been polished up by a shoe. You know, the wear and tear on the steering column or steering wheel, all the original coloring gone. It looks like this steering wheel was probably, well, it was originally blue and had probably been repainted into the gold tone that is prevalent for the car. You know, they would use whatever was on the production line and make it work. So I'm pretty sure this is the original wheel. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. And of course, it has the old, you know, headliner. Nothing's been replaced. So I just think it's really cool. And in fact, you know, here it is. It's got a clock in it, you know, an AM radio. And then all you have is a fuel gauge and some idiot lights. You know, very basic. But still, really neat car. I do know this seal, I'm thinking about replacing this seal up here. This is all just crumbly and falling apart. I know it's leaking water as well. You know, he's, like I said, he's used it and used it and used it, and I just love it. I just like it the way it is, you know. Hear that door shut? That's like a tank. Yeah. Anyway, this is the car. Now, another cool thing he's told me is he still has the plates for this car from California. He has the black plates, and he's promised to give me those. He has no use for them. I mean, the guy is 75, 76 years old, and he knows I have a plate collection, so he wants me to have those plates. Now, as far as things that need to be done right now, I need to replace the radiator. We've talked about it. I try to convince him to get an aluminum radiator, you know, but he said no, he wants it to look the way it's supposed to look. And this radiator is in bad shape. It's been recored once before, I believe he told me, and it's just coming apart. There is no salvaging it anymore. Typical corrosion going on, and it's just falling apart. So I have another radiator that I'm going to put in it, but I have to do some modifications to it because, I mean, look at this shroud here. You ever see a shroud like that? Probably not very often. So the radiator that I have it does not have the holes or the flange here for mounting this shroud. So when I get this all apart, I'm gonna have to make something so that I can remount this shroud and keep it in place. But otherwise, just a cool old car. Let's have a look under the hood. You know, this trunk is so huge. He'll put, you know, bags of topsoil or potting soil or landscape. This was the first year for their turbo hydromatic. Later versions, of course, or later models, you can get these cars with a turbo hydromatic 2-speed. The engines you could get was 6-cylinder 250, the Super Turbo Fire 283,